Good evening. It's 6:39 p.m. on Wednesday, April 2nd, 2025. This is the City of Franklin Common Council meeting. Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll?
Mayor Nelson.
Here.
Alderman Pecorelli.
Here.
Alderwoman Eichman.
Here.
Alderman Hassan.
Here.
Alderwoman Day.
Here.
Alderman Barber.
Here.
Alderman Craig.
Here.
Excellent. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we're going to go into, we're going to move some things around after citizen comment period. But prior to citizen comment period, as I read this before every citizen comment period, it's the rules of decorum for attendees and participants for those attending City of Franklin meetings. Respectful and orderly conduct is expected at all times. Disruptive or unruly behavior, including but not limited to clapping, verbal disruptions, signs, and outbursts will not be tolerated. For those wishing to speak during City of Franklin meetings, approach the microphone when the chair opens the floor for citizen comments. State your name and address for the record. Address your comments to the Common Council, Board, Commissioner, or Committee only. Limit your comments to 3 minutes or less, and I will be the timekeeper. No endorsements or electioneering are allowed. Speakers shall refrain from presenting unduly repetitious, offensive, threatening, slanderous, defamatory, or obscene remarks. Persons wishing to speak as a spokesperson on behalf of a neighborhood, subdivision, homeowners, condominium, or business association, or similar group with common interest shall demonstrate their qualifications to do so accordingly to City of Franklin Resolution Number 2007-6227 before speaking on that body's behalf. Questions may be answered immediately by the chair, that's me, or referred to city staff for a future reply in a timely manner. Those not adhering to these rules of decorum for attendees and participants will be asked to leave or be removed from the meeting if necessary. And please, we don't want to do that. So with that said, anybody wishing to speak at this time, please come to the podium. And if you're looking to speak after end, please go right behind so we're not waiting.
Ready, set?
Let's do a little test.
All right. Perfect.
Thank you, Mr. Mercado.
All right, my name is Joe Mercado. I live at 10162 South 34th Street here in Franklin. I am the president of Hidden Oaks Homeowners Association, speaking on behalf of the 54 homes regarding the warehouses that are going up on Oakwood or are up on Oakwood Avenue right now. The purpose of me being here today, and I'd like to thank our alderwoman and Marion for kind of just listening, is I want to have a voice at the table for our homes, and our homes want to have a voice at the table too for traffic mitigation for Modine. Specifically, those two warehouses coming in are going to bring a lot of traffic through our neighborhood. A neighborhood that didn't ask for it because we didn't know it was going to be there when we moved in, right? But also accepts the progress that the city is making. So what we're asking for is just a voice at the table to help alleviate problems of the future. Some of the things that we would like to see is some exterior signage in our outside of our neighborhood prohibiting warehouse traffic from coming down 31st Street and 34th Street. During construction, we saw multiple semis, full-size semis coming down those streets with little children trying to go to school in the morning. All right, I've seen everything. I've seen speeders come up and down the street. I get it. That's part of being, it's part of progress. But we have to have some type of partnership with Modine, and I would hope that they'd be a good corporate citizen and partner with us to try and mitigate the issues that are forthcoming. Currently, there's a lot of construction traffic coming through the neighborhood, right? And the problem is the interior signage in our neighborhood says no construction traffic. Well, it's too late. You've already turned down the street. You're not going to turn around. So what we're asking are for simple things, just some exterior signage on Oakwood, on Ryan Road, stating no construction traffic, no warehouse traffic, whatever the city decides to come up with down 31st or 34th Street, okay? The second is I'd like to have a voice at the table with both the warehouses as well. As the HOA president, I think we can work and be good partners in this situation and just have conversations like we're having with the city right now. And we've been having an ongoing conversation with the city as well. The one thing I don't want to have to do, and I really don't, but I can see it as if it doesn't get cut off at the pass, is get Franklin Police Department involved on a regular basis. I've been speaking with them. They said they'll shoot radar, but you don't want a police officer sitting in a cul-de-sac shooting radar and writing tickets. I'd rather just talk to Modine, work with the city on signage, and come up with nice collaborative ways to just cut off problems as we move forward. You know, we've talked about speed bumps in the past. That doesn't work, all right? They're dangerous in my eyes. You put those in. I'm not worried about snowplow drivers. I'm worried about cars not paying attention, motorcycles, bicyclists, and all that. So please, just going forward, we just want to have a seat at the table and talk about Modine, and I hope Modine, if they're here, they reach out to me and say, here, you know what, Mr. Mercado, let's work together. Okay, fair enough?
Thank you, sir.
Janella McAdams, 8735 West Hawthorne Court. I'd like to make a comment about the 79 decibel level for the Tacos and Tequila and Phase Fest. I heard Mr. Zimmerman refer to the noise as a work in progress, and I would agree with that. There's been some good improvement with the ball games, and there's still things that we can hear in our neighborhood, but, you know, it's much better. However, the Tacos and Tequila and Phase Fest, I wasn't around for Tacos and Tequila, but I can tell you that a lot of our neighbors in the neighborhood did say you could still hear it. So I can't speak to that personally, but I know that you could hear it from what I heard from our neighbors. I was at home for Phase Fest, and you could, as you all in the licensing, you said yes, that you agreed that it went south. And I'm a business owner. When something goes south, I get to the bottom of what happened. And so I don't have much faith when someone's asking to keep something at 79 decibels and they don't have an answer as to what happened. I don't understand why, how can you ask for something when you don't know what happened? And going on there has been improvements, but going on past history, we can still hear it in our neighborhood, and not just in our neighborhood, in surrounding neighborhoods. So, you know, I'm not saying that it shouldn't happen, but I hope that you really take into consideration the past 2 years, what has happened with that. Keep it at 65, where it's not blaring, and it's not just profanity like you brought up, Alderman Eichman. It's 20 hours of not sitting in your house and having to hear it with closed windows and the air conditioning on. So yes, that is a huge part of it, is the profanity, the derogatory songs. I understand it's a concert, but as you said, Alderman Day, it's a concert that backs up a neighborhood and surrounding neighborhoods. Last year, Alderman Barber, you said if there's problems again, you're not going to approve it. Mayor, you said if there's profanity, you're not going to approve it. So again, I agree with Mr. Zimmerman. It's a work in progress, but I think 79 decibels is not conducive. And that's been proven over and over again with this event. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening, sir.
My name is Eli Gasavic, 7518 Carter Circle North. But my backyard is butted up against the proposed town square that might be happening. I don't know. And that's what concerns me. Nobody seems to know what's going on. I asked even Mike Barber, and he has no clue. I don't understand why there's no timetable, if it's going to happen or not happen, or what the decisions are. If someone could tell me, or someone could put something in writing, it would be greatly appreciated. Further to that then, because it gives you an idea where I live, I'll reiterate what the young lady said before me, is that the sound noise from the rock sometimes is just unbearable. Why we have an ordinance and we don't enforce it is beyond me. Mayor Nelson, as a former police officer, you know laws are in place to be enforced, but we don't enforce them.
Why don't I answer your first question
Of
first
course, sir.
about the development. So development is taking place. It's still in negotiations with the developer. The developer is then going to bring it to council because they've been changing things around, moving things around within that development. It's a major development.
Yeah,
It's the old adage, you know, measure twice and, you know, cut once. And we only have one shot in what I believe is the gem of our city and the development area of our city. So we want to make sure that it's right. So I am working with the developer, and we are going to be bringing back something with the developer when they have the changes to where they want to put them.
Could I just make one comment?
You've got the floor.
Concerning that, is we were originally told they would start digging this spring, so that's not the case now.
The demolition is targeted for this year in 2025. But when you've got the developers, they're looking for things, money, whatever they're looking for. We're looking for, can we afford it? Can we not? What do we want there? What do the neighbors want there? Remember, they've had 3 town hall meetings that were heavily, heavily attended.
Yes, I
So-
know, I was at every one.
Right, as was I. So, that's another thing that's gonna be brought back into the picture.
Okay, wonderful, I appreciate, now at least I know something. The issue concerning the rock and the noise, I've mentioned it, the young lady mentioned it much better than me, but I do have a third issue. And I don't know if this is true or not, but I'm of the belief that there's a proposal in place that we will be granting blankets, event licenses for instance, for example, The Rock. They'd have one permit for 20 events, which to me is ludicrous. My property value, my assessment went up $100,000. My property taxes went up $1,000. They can't afford $100 per permit for each event. That doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, we could take some of that money and maybe lower some of our property taxes. That's money just being thrown away. Why we would do that, I don't understand, and I hope that this council would not approve such a issue. One event, one permit, whether it be The Rock, whether it be the Umbrella Bar, whatever it might be. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Linda Mathwig, 7321 Brun Drive. I always hate to be negative, and I really am a person who likes to work on sensible solutions. But many times I think the citizens are kind of backed into the corner and the solutions are not coming to us. I am speaking regarding letter H on tonight's agenda for the licensing and permit. I concur with the 2 people who just spoke prior to me regarding several events on one permit. To me, that's a loss of revenue for the city of Franklin, and I think if you have one event, especially if it's in a separate week, you should have individual applications for each event. I also have a question. When will the Milkman game applications be submitted? Because that's coming up shortly too, for them to have their games. Or is that not an item that has an application for permits?
Madam Clerk?
That goes through. They're permitting. it
Just-
through plans.
Whoever's answering, please just speak up a little bit. Mr. Martinez is our planning manager. Your
Thank you.
line.
It is scheduled for April 17 Plan Commission meeting.
Okay, thank you. Attending the meeting tonight for the permits and licenses, the representative from the Rock stated at various times that to the committee members that he was not open to discussion in regards to time or in regards to decibel limits. He also then said that he's not telling you how to do your job, but it kind of sounds like he is telling you how to do your job and that he will not allow things to be changed. The Umbrella Bar concerts, I thought were acoustical concerts, only to find out that it is tapped into the sound system. I just don't know what happened to having an ambient atmosphere around. Why does it have to be heard throughout the entire property? It's being done at the Umbrella area, and the neighbors are being disturbed by these also. I just wish that the committee would take into consideration the citizens of the city of Franklin. And I understand it's an entertainment value, but I live more than a mile away. I don't need to be entertained from someplace that's a mile away from me. And I really would like you to consider tabling these items tonight, having it go to separate events or separate applications for each event, and for you to also help control the decibel limits for the surrounding neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Kleist, good evening.
Good evening. Andy Kleist, 6025 Parkview Road, Greendale. I have comments concerning items G1 and H. On September 20th, 2023, there was a Franklin press release to address widespread concerns from neighboring residents regarding noise complaints associated with events held at the Rock Sports Complex. In this, Mayor Nelson states, "We are committed to addressing what have been longstanding concerns, and it is the mayor's priority to resolve this issue to ensure the well-being of all residents of Franklin." In a WSIN 12 article dated September 22nd, 2023, it says, "To appease the neighbors, Zimmerman said they're willing to change. The first step may be as simple as turning the volume down. Quote, if we do anything with the stadium, we've decided to turn down the music, turn down the speakers. Those are things that we've already decided to do. But again, I don't know that. Those are small in comparison. We really want to try to solve this thing." In a Fox 6 article dated the same date of September 22nd, Zimmerman said, "What we have to do is a better job of being more mindful of the next door neighbors." The article goes on to say, Mayor Nelson said, "We want an aggressive timeline with some tangible results. The neighbors have been heard, and now it's time for action." It's been about 10 years in total now. Almost 2 years this fall since that emergency meeting back in 2023, and 1 year since the city passed Resolution 2024-8109. The mayor and the city say they are committed to mitigating the noise. The developer has said he wants to solve these noise issues, so let's solve them. What are we waiting for? The city must move forward with JPM's proposal. We know the sound monitors in their current state don't really monitor sound from the Rock all that well. They mostly monitor traffic on 76th Street and the surrounding nature, such as birds and frogs. You can listen to the audio. We know Milwaukee County paid $200,000 for a sound analysis for Franklin and the developer, but the developer wouldn't allow the acoustic company on the property or to inspect the equipment being used. That county study recommended that an acoustic company get access to both of these. So if you approve any of the 100 events proposed at the Rock under item H tonight, the Rock must comply with that 55 decibel maximum being instantaneous at the property line, not the louder decibel levels they are requesting for this year's events at the property line. With an additional half hour being requested for the summer concert series, those concerts should be required to end a half an hour earlier at 10 p.m. to better align with Franklin's ordinances. In addition, prior to any review of these events tonight, the Rock should formally agree to allow JPM full access to their entire site, including equipment, speakers, and monitors, and for the Rock to agree to implement the mitigation plan proposed by JPM. Noise mitigation is non-negotiable, and it's been required since 2016, since the creation of Ballpark Commons. The noise is not a new issue. It is something that is continuing to be delayed, and we need to have action now.
3 minutes.
In another 2 years, 5 years, or 10 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kleist. Good evening, Joy.
Good evening. Joy Draginas-Singales, 7573 Highview Drive. I just have a few points regarding the issues at hand. I have made this very clear in the past, and I hope this to be the last time it will need any clarity. I continue to hear over and over again that the neighbors are asking for the Rock facility to be shut down. That is an out and out mistruth. We have never asked for it to be shut down. We have asked for it to quiet down, to be respectful of the neighbors. This is something that we have expected for the noise disturbances coming into our homes and onto our properties, that ordinances, laws, and state statutes regarding noise be enforced. Our hope is the sound mitigation study by JPM will address and fix all of these issues for each neighbor. The events at the Rock are not occasional. This seems to be another issue that is misunderstood or misrepresented many times. 100 events do not equal the definition of occasional. Seeing as this has been a form of contention and misrepresentation, the formal definition of the word is infrequent or irregular, taking place from time to time, not often, frequent, or regular. Numerous bands, concerts, 4 or more days of events, etc., are not occasional. An example of this would be an occasion of the 4th of July celebration. At the last board meeting, the city voted to indefinitely table a water hookup for the city. I agree with this decision if you wanted the homeowners to pay for it. What is the most interesting in this meeting was Alderwoman Eichmann's response to and vote on this matter compared to her position when it pertains to the rock. Let me refresh your memory. Alderwoman Eichmann stated she had spoken to the citizens who are not in her district, what she feels is the right thing to do as an alderperson and representative of the city, which I agree. But she also said that people who don't want something shouldn't have to be subject to it. It's not the first time she said it in a meeting either. She also stated if they don't want it, they shouldn't have to have it. I couldn't agree more. That's how we feel about the rock. We shouldn't be forced to listen to this venue and have it shoved down our throats in our homes. Personally, the most surprising part of my entire 10+ years experience has been how the issues with this development has made many city officials and the city itself seem disingenuous at times, foolish even.
3 minutes, ma'am.
Thank you. They have mishandled the issues and concerns of the affected residents. We were promised a resolution and it was passed over a year ago. The noise was going to be handled swiftly, ordinances to be followed, and the neighbors would have a town hall meeting to hash it out. In good faith, follow through with your promises and let's get these issues sorted out. Do not approve more days and higher decibels as requested by this development. Thank you.
Thank you, Joy. Ms. Gint,
Thank you.
good evening.
Good evening. Dana Gant, 901 West Hawthorne Lane. For the 2025, The Rock is proposing to increase noise levels and hours of operation for over 100 events that already resulted in 116 noise complaints last year. Any approval for any event needs to be conditioned upon the maximum decibel level allowance being 55 decibels as a maximum instantaneous measurement at the property line for residential districts, and that fireworks events should be limited to 4 per year and end at 10 p.m. Plus, the umbrella bar events need to be ending at 10 p.m. and comply with 55 decibels at the property line. The 10 p.m. end time was what was on the permits for the umbrella bar for 2024. The Ballpark Commons has brought up that the umbrella bar previously operated to midnight. To be very clear, the city of Franklin has no application, no permit for those events that operated till midnight on county park land or in the city of Franklin for years. To be very clear, they were illegally operating till midnight. So to say that they were permitted to operate till midnight is false. And so in 2016, I believe they were required to come back and actually apply, and that's when it was changed to 10:30. But now it needs to stay go to 10 because that's when the ordinance changes to reduce the decibel level to 5. Prior to any events being operated, the city of Franklin needs to have a formal agreement executed with The Rock that the professional acoustic firm JPM will have access to the equipment operations monitoring premises. And in addition, that formal agreement needs to indicate that The Rock will comply with the mitigation plan that's going to be created by the JPM acoustic experts. The operation of hundreds of events at this location has been a public nuisance for a decade. There are constant delays and excuses to not implement meaningful continuous mitigation to protect surrounding citizens from these events. The problems are well documented in the public record and the media. Over 1,500 noise complaints have been filed at the city and over 500 at the Village of Glendale. There has been dozens of past promises and commitments made by city officials and The Rock for meaningful reductions to noise levels and solutions to the noise problems. Unfortunately, the actual intention now appears very clear: to force the surrounding neighborhoods to be adversely impacted by this public nuisance from noise. The neighbors are not opposed to the development or the events overall. The consistent, justified opposition resulting in the 1,300 complaints is the fact that the neighborhoods are being forced to tolerate extensive chronic noise nuisance from the events for miles. The truth is very simple. The Paul Commons was simply a Trojan horse designed as a platform to get 140 acres of county parkland for $1
Again, 3 minutes.
and
Please
to
finish
create
your-
other entertainment districts
30 seconds will be a hard stop.
that are a direct, the other gentleman talked a little farther, the first gentleman. Well, I represent the Hawthorne neighborhood.
No,
And that this is a direct,
30 seconds and we're done.
okay, and that this is a direct public nuisance to surrounding citizens. So where do we go from here? First, I would like the city attorney to provide a written legal opinion of the consequences for not allowing the ordinances at the city of Franklin, including 121 extraordinary events that the noise cannot carry unreasonably beyond the property boundaries, and then 18340 noise disturbances prohibited into residential areas. I've printed these for the attorney and also for the common council. This should be a legal opinion that is given to the common council. So these are the copies that I believe that there should be a legal opinion given. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kinn. Anyone else, if you'd like to present something to the clerk, we'll hand them out. Or just go ahead, handle it yourself.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak at this time? Approach. If not, I'm going to close citizen comment period. Going once, twice. Thank you, Dana. Closed. We have got no hearings under letter D. We've got no organizational business under letter E. We have got no letters under letter F. So we're going to move to G1. And then after G1, we're going to move forward to licensing, as in letter H. We're going to move that. I know, hold on. So just so we know, we're going to move forward with this, and that's going to be the thing, and then we're going to talk about Mr. Barber at the end, and have some fun. Okay, under C as in Charles, approval of the minutes, regular common council meeting minutes of March 18th, 2025. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. G1. Sound monitoring RFP proposal review and next steps. Madam Director of Administration, are you making contact, as I see?
All right, they should be able to hear us. Can you hear us?
Danielle, could you please provide her with a microphone?
Hello, can you hear us?
Hello?
Yes, I can hear
can
you.
hear
I think you are addressing JPM. How are you?
Just speak up a little bit.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for joining us. So the whole point of this is to provide an opportunity for our council to ask questions of you and to kind of get a better understanding of what you're proposing and what you can do. With that, I'm going to turn that over to the council.
Okay, well, first we have Mr. Wessolowski, our city attorney. Do you want to talk a little bit now, or do you want to let questions and concerns from the council move first, or combination thereof?
I dare say questions from the common council first, as I did note in the common council action sheet,
Press your buttons.
the goal here is to discuss the terms and conditions for a positive, collaborative, work together future process for sound monitoring. That's it.
Okay, so what we'll do then is we're going to look for questions from the council. I'll go last. Alderwoman Day, you have some copious notes. Would you like to take the floor?
These are my notes from last week. Sure. So I guess I will just ask the questions that I have specifically for the vendor that submitted the application. I had some questions 2 weeks ago that we couldn't answer internally because we're not sound experts. That's why we're talking to you and coming to you. So these were just a few of the questions that I had from the RFP that we received. And please forgive me that this is not at all my area forte, so I'm going to sound really unintelligent when I'm asking these questions. But for the monitors, would your recommendation be that we get different monitors, or the monitors that we have currently, we would continue to use those? If you know even what kind of monitors we have, I don't even know if you know that much information at this point.
According to the project specifications, there are two Larson Davis sound level meters that the city of Franklin is using now. We could integrate them in our system, or we could use our own. We have to review them first, review the
Okay.
specs and everything.
Sure, that makes sense because
If this, sorry for jumping in, just if this helps you guys, because I am the acoustical engineer, we can use either or, and I think during the planning phase, we can actually decide that. But I would say that most likely we can also use the Larson Davis. It's a good thing that you guys have that equipment.
because I know later on in the quote, you talk about the potential that we may need to purchase software. So I guess that was going to be my question, is if the monitors we had would not be compatible with the software that you'd be recommending we use, would it then be a recommendation to get monitors that did, or do you believe whatever software you would have for the monitoring program would be compatible with what we have?
Yes, that's actually a good question. I would say, to simplify things, that our responsibility towards you guys would be to consult so that we have the best solution to the least expense, period. So our responsibility would be to advise, and unfortunately there are all sorts of different brands and different equipment and different types of software. Typically each brand locks you into using their equipment and their software. So if we need real-time alerts and things such as being able to see our data in real time online, so that the police station can also have access to that information in the public. For these types of things, it's best to first put together a noise control plan, see what we want to achieve, take a look at the details of what we are trying to accomplish, and then we will take into consideration that we have the two Larson Davis equipment. We have a collection of different brands available, so we can also set up our own equipment. It really depends on what is the best service that we can provide for the city with a given situation, let's say. But yeah, typically Larson Davis is pretty expensive for the real-time alerts, and they do charge additionally for platforms. So this is something we will have to take a look at, and we will consult accordingly. We will advise you guys.
Okay. And then my last question, I think right now for both of you, if down the road, after you come in, we get everything set up, everything's working great, but then all of a sudden something may need maintenance or repair, are there, how is that handled? Because obviously you're not local. So would we then be having to look for a local company to do that maintenance? How does that work when you have clients that are a little bit logistically further away from you for basic repair maintenance issues?
Yes, that's a good question also. This is typical for us. So essentially we would assign a technician that will be local and will be able to troubleshoot anything needed. And we will be taking the responsibility to handle all of that for the city.
Okay, so you
Now,
would look for
if there is
somebody
any
local that could do
that is correct,
local
and so we will establish a partner, and until that happens, I will be on site. Most likely, the way I understand this project and how I see it, most likely we will need the site visit during an event, and that will be most likely the first step, so we can collect some data, see the situation, let's say real time. But yes, typically we would have someone that would be at least a trained technician that can assist us. So the client never has to deal with anything except us giving you information about what you need. Exceedance of specific noise levels at specific locations, etc., or whatever else we decide. It sounds just for since I have the opportunity to speak a little bit, I do want to say we appreciate the opportunity, and this is a project I'm pretty interested in, being involved in. We do have really strong experience, and this is 100% in line with what we do. I'm happy to discuss about our qualifications just in case you guys want that. I believe Mr. Emelios has submitted our statement of qualifications anyways, so I just want to bring that to your attention.
Okay, I've got just a few questions and a follow-up, kind of going off of what Alderwoman Day said. Okay, so for the first part about this question is, do you believe in your professional opinion that the sound monitors are currently in the proper position to be accurate in what we're looking to record? Other words, do they need to be moved? Do you feel that they're in the right spots?
This is something that typically we would have to study the project, to be honest with you. I will give you but essentially, the correct answer is that it is not professional right now to give an opinion. But just because since you're asking, I do want to give you an answer, but with caution, because I have not seen the site. I have not seen specific details that may be of significance, like the anatomy of the ground. There's a lot of information that I have not been exposed to yet. So, having that in mind, I would say that 2 locations are most likely not sufficient. Even if the positions selected are key positions that we would maintain, most likely they are not sufficient to have a good understanding of what is happening. Essentially, we do want to take a look at noise-sensitive locations at the property lines that are nearest to the noise sources, and at least the properties that are worst-case scenarios, let's say. Sometimes, in my experience, that happens not necessarily at the closest property line. It depends on the elevation of the ground and other factors. So we have to take a look at that. But there are multiple positions that need to be considered, and I would say that probably 2 locations are not enough. If the city gives us the input that due to restriction of funding or to a budgetary restriction, we need to stick with the 2 locations, I think we can still have a evaluation of the exposure, of the noise exposure to residential locations or other noise sensitive locations nearby. If I remember correctly, there are also other building types besides residential that may be exposed to the noise and have complaints or
So one of the things that
this is something that I would typically look at, to identify the location. Sorry if my answer is too long, but that's something I would typically look at, and probably more than.
We don't have a 3-minute rule for you, so you're good.
Got it.
So one of the things that we've heard for a number of years was that the sound monitors are not properly placed, that they're too high. So that's, I guess, one of my priorities is to make sure that they're not only, and I'll get to the calibration question because we want to make sure they're properly calibrated annually. We heard of field calibration. We heard of sending them in to be calibrated, and whatever that may be, we just want to make sure that these are calibrated. There's proof of that your professional opinion is they're in the right area, they're in the right height, and that's a big deal to make sure that's giving the best transparent reading for what we have. So for right now, I will yield if there's somebody up here. Mr. Barber, you've got the floor.
One of the questions I have is the implementation of all of this once everything is punctuated and it's in place. How do we go about and implement it? And I'm just wondering if the city has initiated any discussions with the vendor as well as Rock Management on how we can partner with this and move forward with implementing the mitigation plans and whatever's going to be necessary, having access to the site. I think that would be an excellent opportunity for the Rock to show exactly what kind of a neighbor they will be with us and the neighbors. And I hope that we can get to that phase quickly, but have we started any discussions now at this point about how that's going to happen and how we will implement it once we do have the initial phases of this worked out?
I'll start. Oh, Mr. City Attorney.
The mayor's had the discussions with the developer. I did also, and there are some brief points, but there are a substantial number of terms within the proposal, et cetera, that needed to be discussed pursuant to the Common Council at its last meeting. So in general, and I keep repeating, let's all work together to make this work. Yes, there have been discussions, and I understand from the mayor that the developer has agreed to the access issue that's been brought up repeatedly. But the thought was, and the timing and all the other work ongoing, was to wait for this meeting and then focus in detail and spend substantial time on this item after this meeting, assuming it reaches some form of conclusions.
Yeah, I've got nothing, well, I've got just a little bit to add to that, but to that point is, yes, we want to make sure, I've got commitment from Mr. Zimmerman that there will be access, and if we have to put that in writing, he has no problem doing that, because the accessibility, we shouldn't, it's not even, shouldn't be an issue. But it, you know, to your point, that'll be clarified. But there are a number of things tonight that other members of the council asking the vendors here, and when we get our answers, our preliminary answers, then we're going to go back and continue to where we have to go for the development of this agreement.
Has the vendor talked to the developer at all at any point so far?
I have no idea.
I would
No, I-
doubt that.
Go ahead, sir, you've got the floor.
Yes, apologies. No, I thought you guys were addressing the question to us, but yeah, I personally haven't spoke with the contractor. I don't think our general manager, Mr. Melios, have you spoke with the contractor for this project? I don't believe so, right?
No, with the developer of the Rock, no.
Yeah. Okay.
That's all.
Okay.
Yeah,
not
we're
yet.
more than happy to connect when you guys are ready, when you want us to do that. More than happy to, of course. Yeah.
I yield.
Mr. Pecorelli?
So in the RFP response, there was a section in here on noise mitigation plan. Can you expound a little bit on what the output of that noise mitigation plan would be?
Yes, essentially there are lots of different technologies and ways to control the noise, depending. So it will have a wide range of solutions. And before we give you guys the final submission, there will be the opportunity to revise so that we can have discussions in relation to the applicability of potential mitigation measures, the cost of those, etc. And we will get to the point where we will be advising the city in relation to what can be implemented, what decibel level reduction we're expecting to see, or we can, essentially give you guys a number on the property line of identified positions, or we can do a 3D color map. In our computer model, typically we do a 3D modeling calculation for these projects. But it will be a range of solutions from permanent walls to noise control blankets, perhaps enclosures, adjustment in the PA system orientation, the PA system type, and other things, active noise cancellation, depending on if we have noise sources within building structures, we can take a look at the least noise control path, for example, windows, doors, the roof, these kind of things. So it really depends. There's a really wide range of options for mitigating noise. And this will be outlined in our study, and they will be discussed one by one with, either a specific person or the contractor, also the site, etc. The final output will be essentially drawings and recommendations for technologies,
Okay.
materials, enclosures, etc. Yeah.
Thank you. And you brought up decibel reduction. So I know that range can be all over the place, but typically with different types of mitigation, noise mitigation, what's kind of the range you can kind of expect on decibel reduction? It's kind of the range.
That's a good question, and essentially it will be the meat and bones, let's say, of the whole effort that we will do. To get that number, it's we have to consider a lot of things. It's really difficult for me to give you something off the top of my head. For a typical construction fence-mounted noise blanket, you can reduce from 20 to 25 dB in the mids and high frequencies. This specific situation, because you guys are looking at the loudspeaker systems playing music, we're looking at low-end frequencies. These frequencies are harder to mitigate, so we have to take a look at that. Maybe we'll need enclosures or more permanent noise barriers. But it's, essentially with noise control, you can get to a point where you can completely eliminate a noise source at a receptor, but the limiting factor becomes cost. In other words, cost increases exponentially after a certain point of reduction. And this is the detail of our study that is important. We have to be responsible to be precise with that, obviously. I wouldn't recommend a mitigation measure if we are not expecting to see a significant reduction that will be audible to the noise-sensitive locations. Obviously, otherwise, the effort would be redundant and it would be a waste of finance. This is definitely a project that we can mitigate and control, but it does need detailed design planning, for sure.
Thank you. I yield.
Okay. Alderwoman Eichmann?
Thank you, Mayor. For clarity, did I understand you correctly? To determine if the sound monitors are placed correctly, did you mention a site visit? Or how have you determined if the monitors are placed correctly?
Yes, a site visit definitely going to be. It's not necessary if you guys want us to look exclusively at the positioning of the existing noise monitors you guys have. We can do that, and we can consult from pictures and videographic if there is a need for that. But it's best if I am on site. If we plan for me to be on site, and if the city moves forward with this project and we are involved, I would love to be on site, and definitely we can consult about not only the positioning but also the calibration and anything else that is needed.
Thank you.
Okay, Alderwoman Day?
Last question that I have for you all is kind of the timeline. If we were, let's say we were to vote on this tonight to move forward, what is your timeline that you would be able to start working on the project?
For JPM?
Yes.
I would say immediately, because it is an interesting project. I can see that it can be tricky. It is a solution that will require our level of expertise and experience. It is something I have really strong past experience on. I think as soon as we have the contracting part sorted out, we can probably engage within the next couple of days, or maybe next week. We can, within 5 business days, we can have everything scheduled for me to be on site with my equipment. It really depends on our schedule, but I don't think there will be any delays. This will be a priority project for me. So, I wouldn't foresee any delays. If we need to move forward, we can move forward ASAP. We do have equipment available. The next couple of weeks seem reasonably open for me. I would suggest to perhaps tune my site visit in conjunction with the project, with the event, if there is a planned event coming up soon. Otherwise, that's something to consider. It's not a necessity, obviously, but I would prefer to be on site when a typical loud event is ongoing.
And then typically for a project like this, how long does it normally take for you to do the background work to kind of come up with that impact study and the mitigation plan? Is it, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months? How long does it normally take you to kind of pull all of that together for your recommendation for us?
It really depends. Typically, once I have all of the data collected and all of the information collected, I would say that, 3 to 6 weeks is the typical. If there is a rush, maybe we can expedite. It depends really on my schedule. What takes the most time is the collection of the data and the information and the coordination with the client to identify specifications. I know you guys have a specification document already put together, but it is mentioning a lot of different things that can be potential options. And so I think we need to narrow down a little bit what needs to be executed, done, and we can definitely give you timelines, maybe for each step of the project, or we can give you a letter of outlining, the schedule that we see the phases for completing this work. I would say, yeah, like I said, a couple of weeks to maybe top 6 weeks from the time we have all of the information collected in the data, we can have the output, the completed study with our recommendations.
Okay, Alderman Hassan?
Yes, can you please explain why you have noise monitoring and then noise monitoring reports? I mean, shouldn't these be merged together so that's like one item? Because whenever you have monitoring, you have to have like an output of whatever you did.
Yes, that's actually that's a good detail. In many cases, we do monitor, but we do not provide reports to the client because it's not needed. And this is why we typically provide it as a separate price item. It's a separate service because you may not need the reports on the data. You may only need the real-time alerts during the event, for example. And I believe this is, but sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so there's actually like a need for the report if you just have, I'm very naive about this, so I don't really know much about these things. So maybe you can explain it more.
Yes, no problem. A report essentially is a certification, so it will have our signature and it will certify the collection of data and it will present the data in a graphic form.
Okay.
So essentially, I believe the charge is for putting the report together and presenting the data.
Thank you.
So it is something that will probably not be needed most likely, but you guys will need a final document that will be the study, obviously, for the mitigation study and the measures. So, yeah.
Are you yielding, sir?
Yes.
Okay, Alderman Craig?
Everyone gobbled up everything I had.
I know, right? Overachievers. Andy, you good? Always.
I appreciate you.
Anyone else up here? If not, Mr. City Attorney, do you have anything at this point? In addition to what you stated earlier?
No, other than get it done. And where it's at right now, staff should focus on the response to the RFP after hearing what all the council members said for 2 meetings and boil that down to exactly what's needed. And there then should be discussions with the developer to put this all together, to work together, as well as with the potential new contractor to get this all done. And then we'll proceed, and as soon as possible, bring agreements back to the Common Council.
You gonna leave on a high note? Alderman Eichmann?
Jesse just answered what I was going to be asking.
So you're yielding?
I am. Thank you.
Good. So anyone else have any other comments, Madam Director of Administration, at this point?
No, I just wanted to thank the gentleman for joining our call, answering the questions, providing your proposal, and being flexible for the scope of work that this project will require.
Yes, I echo that too. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. So we'll end the call at this point, and we'll go.
Yeah, I'll be in touch and we can sit, well, not sit, but we can talk about what the scope of the project looks like and kind of what your best estimate would be on moving forward.
Motion to direct.
Okay, thank you and good night. California time. So it's
Thank you for
early.
having us. Thanks for your time.
Good.
very much.
Alderman Hassan, you're discussing a motion?
Yeah, I can make the motion to direct staff to continue.
Second the motion?
We've got a first and a second. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Now we're going to go out of order. We're going to go to H as in Henry, licensing. So this, who will be quarterbacking this licensing discussion? Alderwoman Day, is that true? Could you start?
Sure.
Okay, Alderwoman Day, you've got the floor.
Did, I guess the first question I have is, did we want to do, I think for ease, do all of it, do the operators and then come back and do
Please.
the other ones as separate actions?
Please do that. Do
Okay.
operators first, then go back to separate actions.
Okay, so on the agenda, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 operators. The first operator, Mr. Mendoza, we would like to hold for appearance. The other 5 are approved.
I'll second that.
So we have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Back to, why don't we go with the fireworks first? Does that sound good? Go in order from 1, 2, 3, 4.
Sure, and I will invite Alders Craig and Eichmann to jump in if I misrepresent or forget anything on this one. So we met this evening to discuss the fireworks post-Milkman Games. Of note to the original application and information that was in the packet, there are date changes to this. On the original application, there was a date of 6/3 that should read 6/6/25, and there was a date on there that said 8/2 that should be 8/29/2025. Those are Fridays. So there's those 2 date changes. We discussed that these are all on Fridays except for the date on July 3rd. That is a Thursday. The application had an ending time of 10:30. Per discussion with the committee and the applicant, we are recommending a hard stop at 10:15. Last year, the hard stop was at 10 o'clock, which worked for the majority of their events. However, there was a game where there was a slight rain delay for the start of the game, which by the time the game ended, allowed only 5 minutes for fireworks to hit that hard stop at 10. So this 10:15 gives that extra little bit of wiggle room if that were to happen again. Also, the dates are pending approval on a weekly basis, or the week of the event, between the operator and the fire department, making sure that the conditions are safe. Applicant has stated there are no makeup weather days, and if the fireworks are not safe by the fire department, there would also not be a makeup for that event. So the days are the days, and if weather precludes it, then they just wouldn't happen. Did I miss anything?
They would revisit with another application if a date was canceled.
Possibly, depending on the time of season, because obviously the vendor books up early, so, you know, they may or may not come back with an application for an additional date if applicable.
Okay.
No.
Well,
So for clarity,
Alderwoman Eichmann.
thank you. For clarity on that, what the Alderwoman was stating is, for example, if it rains on a Friday evening, when the fireworks are scheduled, they won't just have them on Saturday due to that.
Correct.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, is there a motion?
So with that, we have for the fireworks only, our motion was to approve the application with the correction of the 2 dates, with the hard stop at 10:15 PM and with the approval of the fire department the week of each event.
I'll second that.
So we have a first and a second. Every one of these will be a roll call vote. Madam Clerk. Hold on. Mr. City Attorney, you've got the floor.
With regard to each of these events and all the comments ongoing, et cetera, thought was that perhaps approvals of licenses, applications for each of these events, and fireworks is probably the lowest level concern one, but nonetheless, it's up to the Common Council, but perhaps for any item to, any motion to approve any of these items, that the motion to approve be subject to any city code, regulations, or agreement being adopted, created, and/or entered into after the date of approval of this application, which subsequent code provisions, regulations, and/or agreements as they pertain to sound noise requirements shall be applicable to the license operation approved hereunder, considering what's ongoing.
For each one.
That
So-
was my thought.
Add that to each one.
So why don't, if the council's fine with that, why don't we go with the city attorney's recommendation for the motion to approve after discussion of each one, which you did very well, by the way. So since you broke it down that way, and then that would be the motion.
Yes,
You're good with that?
yes, sounds good to me.
You good with that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, roll call, please.
Alderman Peccarelli.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichman.
Aye.
Alderman Hassan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderman Craig.
Aye.
6 ayes, no nos, motion carries. Item 2.
They get more complicated as we go.
Yes, I see that.
Okay.
Doing
All
well.
right, so second item, Rock Ventures Umbrella Bar 2025 Concert Series. The dates that are listed there are all Saturday evenings. I'm going to back up a moment for our discussion at License Committee. Our city clerk was able to find and clarify the motion as was, there was some discussion back and forth in License Committee about the end time of this event last year. Last year's application was for 6:30 to 10:30. This year's application is from 6 PM to 10:30 PM. There was discussion back and forth on the end time for last year. I recollected an end time of 10. Others recollected an end time of 10:30. What city clerk found was it was actually both. There were some dates that were not on Saturday, and because those were during the week, the end time was adjusted to 10 o'clock based on the fact that it was during the week. If that, you're all not, like, it's coming back to me now as well, so it was both. It was 10 for some and 10:30 for others. So we were both correct in our recollection of what happened. And in this instance, we were informed that it may not be 10:30 every night, that some bands are contracted until 10. Some bands are contracted till 10:30, so it's not 10:30 every evening. So I just wanted to clarify those 2 points on the time. So
let me ask you a question, Alderwoman. So are you saying that these concerts then, because they are all on Saturdays, have the ability to go until 10:30?
I'm saying that last year they were at 10:30 when they were on Saturdays.
On Saturdays. So
Yes.
if all these are Saturdays, that means they are good till 10:30.
In theory, I believe that was what we.
Well, we're going to have to
what we
make sure that
came
everybody
to
knows what
when
the
we were-
hard stop is. If it's a Saturday night concert, it's 10:30.
So then the other discussion that was in place was, I'll get to the sound limits in a moment. There was from the police department, 2 requests. What is the sound limit? And also to define the 15-minute kind of notification timeline. So the discussion was that the 15-minute timeline would be The police department, whether they're on site or they get a call for a noise complaint, if the complaint is verified to be a violation, the police department will notify whomever is on the application as the point of contact. When that point of contact is made, there is a 15-minute timeline for them to be able to adjust the sound to get it back within the regulated requirements before receiving a violation. So that will be the 15-minute timeline that will be given to the police for each of these events. Then finally, discussion on sound. The applicant had asked for
65 at north and east, and
69
on the west.
The applicant had asked for 65 at the north, 65 at the east, and 69 at the west. Discussion by the license committee was to have it be 65 across the board at all 3 monitors. Did I miss anything?
Alderman Eichman, how do you?
No, I was
think
going to
it
make the motion.
I think it was covered.
Did I miss anything?
That's everything.
Well done.
That was
Okay.
it for that one.
Is there,
Yep.
oh, Mr. City Attorney?
The same addition, you want me to read it again?
Well, before we go with that, then, Mr. Piccarelli?
So I got 2 questions. One is, what was the decibel limits last year?
55.
They were 55 last year? So why are we suggesting higher limits?
Mr. Zimmerman, did you say you wanted to come up here? Well, why don't you come up here, sir, just have a seat at the chair, and then we'll just put your name and business address for the record at the chair at the table. Thank you and good evening.
Mike Zimmerman, 7044 South Ballpark Drive.
Okay, Mr. Peccarelli, could you repeat that?
Sure. So last year, they were 55 at all 3 locations, is that correct? And so why the request for the higher decibel?
Yeah, so this will, you'll see this as a theme. So last year was the pendulum swung really hard the other way, not just in terms of concert series, but Milkman games. There's direct correlation on how our revenue reacted to that, and for those that are on planning, we'll hear that in respect to Milkman games. But the concert series just was way too difficult. It was not, the product wasn't good. In years past, it was much higher than that. And I know one of the comments from Courtney was, what's the middle? And to me, the middle is, I thought it was 69, but 65 is, I think, where they landed on that. So it just doesn't work at 55. Just like it didn't work at Hell Has Eyes. So I think the heritage, and I don't think you were in that seat back then. But we kept coming back. Like fireworks was originally declined. We came back. We got that. We right-sized that. We right-sized the Hill Has Eyes. So I think this is, again, just another variation of what is the right number. 55 was not the right number from a product standpoint.
I know.
And we also had violations of it. It just doesn't work.
And from this last year to this year, to date, there's no other sound mitigation that's been done, correct?
No, not in respect to the Umbrella Bar concert series.
System?
Well, that was put in last year. So you guys held the permit until we installed a house speaker system. We did that. So, and again, with all due respect, I think we were moving hot and fast around this 55. I mean, the reality is, we're asking for an extraordinary event permit, not status quo. So just like Swaggers or any other place that wants to put on a music event isn't going to ask for 55 because it just doesn't work. It's an extraordinary event.
Right, but there's 20. I'm thinking about this right. There's 20, if I did my math right. There's 20 of these.
Every Saturday, yeah, for the last decade. Yep.
After he's done, Alderwoman.
Yeah, I'll the moment.
Alderman Eichmann?
Thank you. I just wanted to mention it went from 79 to 55. The summer concert series used to end at midnight. It now ends at 10:30, 10 o'clock. So there have been justifications before your seat, just so you're aware of in the past. It was way up at 79 at one point. Oh, you.
Mr. Pecorelli, back to you.
I guess my concern with going, I understand if you look at your revenue last year, there's a difference, right? My concern with going back, let's say, I mean, the request was at 69 at one point, right? So to go, and 69 is the neighborhood, that's the closest one to a neighborhood, right? The other one is essentially to the north and to the east, and east is like 76th Street is first there, right? So I guess the question I would have is, I get we're trying to find a middle ground here, but I do think part of the middle ground is getting more permanent sound mitigation in place besides volume knobs and speaker locations and things like that. And so I guess in my mind, we got to somehow tie this back to the sound mitigation plan as well. At least that's the way I'm thinking about this, because honestly, we need the Rock to be successful, okay? We're going to sit here and go back and forth on these. I've only been here for a little bit, but it's been going on for a long time, right? And listening to kind of the decibel limit, the decibel reductions that can possibly occur with sound mitigation, in my mind, that's what we got to do to get this so we're not having these kind of discussions constantly, because this is just going to continue on and on and on, and we're going to be trying to go back and forth on limits, and no one's ever going to be happy, right? And we don't really want to be in that situation. So I guess the way I'm looking at this is we got to somehow tie these to the sound mitigation to try to get everybody to be successful here. I'll yield.
Okay, Mr. City Attorney, can.
In response to Alderman Pecorelli's concern, that's what I added to each motion. In terms of what has to be in compliance with what. And I mentioned agreements as well as updates to the code and regulations. So I think that covers it. And working together, the developer's nodding his head yes.
Yeah, I just for the record, I do support. I mean, I don't want to be here it's like Groundhog's Day every year here. So I support, bringing in another expert. I think this will be our fourth one. And if they can come up with some real solutions that allow us to run our business and protect the neighbors in a way that they're satisfied, that sounds great. I don't know what the cost is going to be and how all that's going to work, but I think those are discussions that still need to happen. But the other thing I would just say is, it doesn't sound like that'll take place probably till early summer, midsummer, and by the time implementation happens, so that's our concern, is we got to get out there and start marketing and advertising, and we also have been doing this for 10 plus years.
Correct. Alderwoman Day, back to Mr. Barber, then back to Alderwoman Day.
One of the things that I appreciate is the fact that we're getting to see all these extraordinary events in one package so we can compare what's coming up. We know what to anticipate. We know where it's going to be going. And we can look at each one of these on one setting and know how the whole picture fits together. And I appreciate that as an alderman, rather than having what has been in the past piecemeal discussions on every one of them. So from that perspective, I appreciate what's being done here.
Just two comments. First comment, and I apologize but there was a comment from one or two of the citizens that said this is just one application, one fee, which is not. That's not the case. Correct. These are separate applications, separate fees. So I just wanted to correct the record, and then I also wanted to say congratulations and thank you. I know we haven't always seen eye to eye, but this is your last comment, council. Mostly we have, but I know it's a thankless job, and you've done great work, and kudos. Appreciate you.
Alderwoman Day,
I'm going to try to
bring it home.
try. So I'm wondering if, in addition to Jesse's verbiage, also, Mr. Zimmerman, with the thought that a few of these events are later on in the year and the concert series goes throughout the year, that parts of this mitigation plan may be done at that point. So there may be a point where we have to, kind of reconvene and kind of tweak this a little bit depending on, what they come up with. So maybe, and I understand that that's what the city attorney's verbiage is trying to encapsulate with that, but I'm just sort of breaking it down in layman's terms that, for everybody else, that I think what that means is if something comes back, it's like, hey, maybe you should move the monitors here, or maybe you should do this, that might, maybe change some of the levels or some of whatever, but it's open to potential change. And I think that kind of incorporates what Alderman Pecorelli was saying, that, we can still get you kind of out the gate running with some of these, but there may very well be tweaks that they recommend that could make it better for everybody.
Great.
But Alderwoman Day, to that point, what we're looking at tonight, right now,
Yep.
at this point in time, is to approve this or not approve it based on the 65 decibels for all three and the dates given,
Yes.
with an end time of 10:30 p.m. for
With-
Saturday night concerts.
Add the motions on the floor.
With the verbiage for the 15 minutes for the police department as well.
Okay, Madam Clerk, do we have a first and a second?
Have a first.
Okay, there's a first. Is there a second to
I
this?
second.
We have a first and a second. This will be a roll call vote again.
Alderman Craig.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
Aye.
Alderman Hassan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichman.
Aye.
Alderman Pecorelli.
No.
5 ayes, no nos, motion carries. Go on
One
to
no.
point number 3.
One no.
What?
One no.
What? I'm sorry. 5 ayes, 1 no, motion carries.
What?
I speak fast. I
Audience should.
was combining words, just so you know, to help save time. So 5 ayes, 1 no, motion carries. Item 3.
Okay. Item 3, Rock Ventures Taco and Tequila
There's no
slash
point of order, it's fine.
Tacos and Tequila / Phase Fest Concerts 2025. First comment is that the applicant would like to strike the Phase Fest date from this particular application. They will reapply for that event at a later time. So this evening, we are only discussing the Tacos and Tequila event for Saturday, September 13th.
Good.
Okay, so for this one, also, police department requested the, not only the sound limits, but also a definition for the 15-minute correction time. It'll be the same as the concert series. Once if a complaint comes in, it is verified that there's a violation, the police will notify the appropriate contact from the Rock. And at that point, when they are contacted, they will have 15 minutes to correct the violation. The applicant had asked for 79 as the volume at all 3 sound systems. Much discussion ensued at License Committee. Last year, the way that this worked is the decibel limit was set at a sound check that was done, I believe, the Friday before the event. So the proposition is to do that sound check again at that point, because then the sound level and the bass level can be narrowed into something that is acceptable to all involved. It was requested that the promoter of the event, Social House, be on site for that as well, since they're a part of bringing in the entertainment and working with the sound system. Also asked that a site plan was not included for this year's event in the application, so it was requested that the applicant submit the site plan to the clerk's office so it can be circled through the other departments to make sure there are no outstanding issues that they have with regard to any sort of city technical fire inspections needs. So that is also a request from us. The one question that I did not ask you said in your application that the end time is 11. What is ending at 11? Is it all the music? Is it just the concert? But then there's like ambient music and like overhead speakers as people are leaving. What ends at 11? Is that a hard
Wait.
stop for everything?
Well, the weather has ruined it the last 2 years. So,
Let's
but
pretend that it's a really sunny nice
yeah,
day.
no, I mean the music's off and lights go on and
Okay.
get out.
Okay, so like
so-
how chant ends, it's just, that's
yeah,
the
people
end.
will. Yeah, I mean, people will.
Right.
We won't put music on and house speakers. It'll just, we're not going to give them a reason to stay. So
And the sound, because there wasn't a site plan, I'm assuming the stage is set up the same that it was last year, directionally for tacos and tequila, because for the most part, that day was fairly good with sound and noise.
yeah, I think Taco Tequila did. Aside from the weather, I think all of the issues we had from year one were remedied in year two. So unless Social House comes back with a different plan, it would only be to continue to mitigate that sound. I think, again, maybe talking with this expert, if you guys engage them, they may have some different ideas on how we acoustically set that up too.
Could I ask one point of clarification again, just so at 11 PM, lights up, music off, and no ambient music? No ambient anything, it's just like, get out, thanks for coming.
Yep.
Right.
What did I miss?
Alderman Eichman, comments on that?
That's it.
No, you have covered everything.
Excellent. Mr. Craig, do you agree?
Sir.
Okay.
And then, yeah, as I said, it being that this is in September, who knows, there may be
Right.
something in that mitigation plan that we may, add or renegotiate at that time, so.
Fair.
Are you making the motion, man?
I think I have everything in there with the city attorney's addendum, yes.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. Roll call on this, please, Madam Clerk.
Alderman Peccarelli.
No.
Alderwoman Eichman.
Aye.
Alderman Hassan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderman Craig.
No.
4 ayes, 2 noes, motion carries. Item 4.
Item 4 is the Rock Ventures Hills has Eyes Haunted attraction, various Fridays and Saturdays, beginning on Saturday, September 26th, running through November 1st, 2025, from 5 p.m. until 2 a.m. I'll break that down in a moment. And then the Sunday family-oriented events, 9/28 through 11/2, running from 2:30 to 5 p.m. So with this one, same as the previous two, police have asked for sound limits, which are which were requested at 60 in the west, 60 in the east, 69 at the north, which were the measurements for last year's event, of which police noted that there were 13 complaints but 0 violations. Breaking down the timeline, applicant states that the event runs in 2-hour increments, 6 to 8, 8 to 10, 10 to 12. As you buy your tickets, the box office has a hard close at 11 p.m. The last group, their tickets are from 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. The last group could enter as late as 12 a.m. The PA system and DJ has a hard stop at 12 a.m. I believe that is it on my notes.
Alderman Eichman or Alderman Craig, anything on that? That's
correct.
Alderwoman covered it all.
Excellent.
So I guess the motion would be as in the application for the dates and times listed. I broke down the times, as I know on the application, they ran out of room to include some of that information. We included the decibel limits, 60, 60, 69, 15-minute, same as the other two for the police department for checking on violations, and the correction period with the city attorney's addendum.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a first and a second. This will be a roll call, please, Madam Clerk. Oh, Mr. Peccarelli, you've got the floor.
Yeah, so some of the other ones we've talked about so like the Umbrella Bar, we had 10:30, it ended. We've talked about other times where the 10 or 10:30, there's a drop in decibel, of 5 decibels, I think it is. Is that the?
Are you referring to our city ordinance,
Yeah,
sir?
yeah. So
Which goes from 55 to 45? That's
Yeah.
a general city ordinance.
Yep. And where I'm kind of going with this is, as it gets later, past 10:30, have we looked at dropping the number down? Because
The site sits idle at 55. Which is
Mr.
idle.
Zimmerman, you've got the floor.
Sorry, I just did, that's a, I think we should do lunch or something. Because there's just a lot of history here, and I appreciate you, but it's, the site just sits idle with nothing going on at 55.
yeah, and I wasn't stating
Mr. Peccarelli?
55, but we're at 60. What is it?
Well, the event ran almost perfectly, yes, last year, with all due respect.
So we have any complaint?
13, of which the bulk of that was 2 or 3 individuals.
The data in the packet from police was 13 complaints, 0 violations were found from the complaints.
All right.
Okay, Alderman Day, you still have the floor?
Uh,
I believe was there a motion and a second on that, and then it got crazy? Okay, so we've got a first, Alderwoman Day, right? You're the first on the motion?
Yes. I
And the
read it.
second, Alderman Eichman? Roll call, please, Madam Clerk?
Alderman Craig,
No.
Alderman Barber,
Aye.
Alderwoman Day,
Aye.
Alderman Hassan,
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichman,
Aye.
Alderman Peccarelli.
No.
4 ayes, 2 noes, motion carries. Okay, we're gonna go back to regular order. G, should be G2.
Good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Zimmerman, for appearing.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay. G2, a resolution authorizing certain officials to execute a subdivision development agreement with Creative Homes, Inc., the developer of the Ridgewood Reserve subdivision. Is there a motion for this?
Motion to adopt.
We have a first.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Prisbillas, thank you for hanging out for the last couple hours. G3, a preliminary resolution declaring intent to exercise special assessment powers granted by Section 207-15 of the Municipal Code and Section 66.0701 of the state statutes for installation of a sanitary sewer on South 80th Street from a point of connection at the intersection of West Bryan Road, State Highway 100, to a point of connection at West Park Circle Way, and setting a public hearing date of May 6th, 2025 at 6:30 PM. Madam Engineer, you've got the floor here.
Yeah, so Caitlin Makoviak. So this is just the first step, I guess, with starting the special assessment process for a sanitary sewer project extension. This was part of the DPW campus utilities project that was out to bid, as stated in the council action sheet. So our first step is to adopt the preliminary resolution and then set a public hearing date as in the motion.
Excellent. Any discussion, Alderwoman Day?
Or are we entertaining defer? No. This is just for bidding the project. I am pleased to hear that.
Okay, with that, is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to adopt.
I second.
Nope, hold on. Madam Director of Finance, you got the floor.
And this may be for, is this ARPA funded? Is this part of the ARPA funded? Is this part of UPI? Okay. So just going forward, I ask from the engineering department that when these come forward, that we have some sort of financial analysis in here. I believe you guys probably have a spreadsheet that you guys came up with the initial amount that's in the fiscal note. So if that could be included going forward, and then just also note that this is ARPA funded as well. So we would be reducing the ARPA fund allocation by the amount of special assessment, just so you guys know, because I didn't see that noted in here.
Good. Let's go back. Was there a motion?
Yes.
I made
Was
the
there a
motion.
second?
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. G4, an ordinance to create section 207-15K, point sub 2, sub J, of the Franklin Municipal Code pertaining to deferment of payment of special assessments with regard to a water main project serving the city to be constructed within a state trunk highway for which public construction is ongoing by the state, causing the need for the water main project to proceed forthwith.
I'll make the motion to adopt.
I'll second.
First and a second, any further discussion? Seeing none, all is in favor?
Aye.
No.
Oh, roll call.
Alderman Peccarelli.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichman.
Aye.
Alderman Hassan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
No.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderman Craig.
Aye.
5 ayes, 1 no, motion carries. G5, a resolution for emergency authorization to contract with Quality Flow Systems to replace pump at St. Martin's Lift Station in lieu of the public bid process with a not-to-exceed amount of $153,445. Mr. Superintendent, any comments on this?
We did have a special Board of Public Works meeting this evening to declare an emergency for this, so they did make that motion.
Okay,
They did, yes.
Yep, and I'll make the motion to adopt.
I'll second.
we've got a first and a second. Madam Director of Finance, are we good with this, where this money's coming from?
Yes, like I put in the fiscal note, we took out a borrowing for the sewer lift station in the industrial park in 2021. We ended up taking out a little bit more in a bond than what we needed, so we have some additional funding that I did verify with our financial advisor that we can use on this project.
Thank you. We got 2. Alderwoman Day, then Mr. City Attorney.
Understanding completely on board with foregoing the bidding process due to the emergent need of this. Just, is this a company that we're familiar with, that we're confident they can do the work, and that they're, the closest and can get it done, expeditiously?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we use them regularly.
Okay, good. That's all I needed to know. Thank you.
So Quality Flow Systems is the company that we're going with?
Yes.
And they refer to us as the Village of Franklin, just so you know.
Yeah.
Jack them up, please. Mr. City Attorney?
I already communicated that fact with them.
Good.
And another fact, the company is contracted currently with the Milwaukee Metropolitan Sewerage District.
That's helpful.
So, and with regard to authorization to contract, what we have is a quotation. And what I did do with the assistance of Mr. Beardsley, contacted the contractor, looking for a standard form they use, et cetera. And where that ended up this afternoon was I sent them the city standard form, but it's only for services, because normally this is a bid item and then it all comes in per contract submitted with bid, per the consultant who does the bid reviews, et cetera. So anyway, we got back a signed city standard form, which will work. The only thing left out there right now is their insurance not compliant with the city standard form. Considering what this is, my thought is A-OK can reduce and remove remove professional liability, et cetera, and just get it done. So that's where it's going. So perhaps the request is, the motion should include pursuant to a contract with the contractor, terms and conditions as approved by staff.
Is that the amended first and second?
Yes.
Mr. Peccarelli, you've got the floor.
So I don't want to make an assumption here. So one of the pumps obviously shows the signs of wear. Are we confident that the other one we're good with for a while, or?
We hope we are through the year. The plan is we have money budgeted this year to get the design to add a third pump. So hopefully we don't have this situation.
Okay.
And you'll see that in the 2026 budget for installing a third pump, which will be a much bigger number than this one.
Okay,
Thank you.
we have an amended first and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. G6, an ordinance to amend ordinance 2024-2649, an ordinance adopting the 2025 annual budget for the sewer fund to provide additional lift station appropriations associated with the emergency replacement of the St. Martin's lift station pump in the amount of $153,445.
Move to approve.
Second.
We've got a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. G7, D4, an ordinance to amend section 15-3.0444 of the Unified Development Ordinance Plan Development District Number 39, mixed-use business park to allow truck terminals and outdoor storage facilities to a special use and to revise design standards. Gina Marie Bonini, Modine Manufacturing Company applicant, 3303 West Oakwood Road. Mary Ann, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor. Thanks for your attention. This proposal came forward as a request by an individual property owner to amend PDD 39, otherwise known as the corporate park or business park in the southeast corner of the city. That corporate park has been growing, and there has been interest in having outdoor storage available as an allowed use in the corporate park. So this is the applicant staff's recommendation is to amend the PDD to allow that beyond this individual property. So the western portion of the PDD is designated as the business park section of the PDD, and it allows for industrial uses and other business types of higher intensity. The eastern portion is considered the gateway and has a little bit more of a higher tone. So staff's proposing that we amend the ordinance to allow for outdoor storage as a special use, subject to reasonable conditions, including screening. And we also propose to amend the design standards to reflect some standards for those conditions, that the outdoor storage area be screened from adjacent streets and sites, and that it not exceed the height of the primary structure, and that it also be located in the side yard or rear yard, and screened from, again, adjacent sites. So staff is recommending approval of the request, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions from the council?
I'll make the motion to approve.
We have a first motion to approve, seconded by Alderman Hassan. All those in favor?
Wait, you got discussion.
Well, discussion, Mr. Barber.
Earlier this evening, we had a citizen come up and ask about the traffic flows on 31st. Is any of that being considered within this motion at this point to accommodate that or to work with that suggestion to us or for us?
So the ordinance as presented does not have any traffic controls, and the PDD in general does not control street design within the PDD or outside of it. So the street that we're discussing is outside of the scope of the ordinance being proposed. I will say I've been in communication with Mr. I'm sorry, I've forgotten his name, but the gentleman Mercado. And we have some planned discussions about the PDD upcoming. I think it would be appropriate to discuss some of the signage that he has requested. And my understanding is there's a restriction on freight traffic on Oakwood Road, and that is something that we could look at possibly doing since 31st is a local street. So
His presentation didn't seem unreasonable to me, but I just hope.
I concur, yeah.
As part of the discussion, future or current.
Yielding, sir. Any other further comments? We had a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. G8, a resolution authorizing the installation of a fence within the 30-foot landscape easement plat restriction upon Lot 22 of Riverview Point subdivision, 6575 West River Point Drive. Crystal and Keith Kent applicants. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
First and second, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. G9, approval of one-year extension of emergency notification system contract with Inspiron Logistics LLC, April 22nd of this year till April 21st of 2026.
Move to approve.
Second.
We've got a first and a second. Any further discussion?
I had one question.
Mr. Pecorelli, you've got the floor.
So, I think reading this, I think it's the way we're concerned about grant funding. How I'm reading into this, we're concerned about grant funding. Is that what's driving the one-year renewal, is to figure out what we're doing for 26, or what drives because I think before we were 2-year agreements.
Madam Director
Yeah.
of Administration?
They were 3-year agreements, I think, beforehand, and what's driving it is there are people that utilize the system that would like to see what else is out there and get competitive quotes, make sure that we're getting the bang for our buck. So because of where the renewal lined up with that process, we had to go with another year to have those emergency notifications. But our goal is to very rapidly as a group sit down and start talking about and grading the various systems to try to find what fits us best.
Okay.
And it might be this system. So we're not counting them out either.
Thank you.
And Mr. Craig?
After we're done here, can I request a 5-minute recess?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
I'm going to just add one thing, Madam Director of Administration. Excellent job explaining this, the background, everything all the way through. So well done. We've got I believe we got a first and a second. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Before we go into G10, we will take a 5-minute break, please. Come back at 8:25.
Thank you.
We're going to go off the record. Item G as in George 10. An ordinance to amend ordinance 2024-2649, an ordinance adopting the 2025 annual budget for the general fund to transfer $988 of contingency appropriations to citywide data communication services for the required wireless emergency notification system, better known as WENS. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
We have a first and second. Further discussion, Mr. Pecorelli? No, not today?
Not
Messing
this
with you?
one.
It says it's a roll call.
Yes, this will be a roll call vote. We've got a first and a second. Roll call, please.
Alderman Craig.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
Aye.
Alderman Assam.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichman.
Aye.
Alderman Pecorelli.
Aye.
6 ayes, no noes, motion carries. G11, budget preparation timetable for the 2026 budget. Who would like to talk on this? Is Madam Director of Finance or Madam Director of Administration? What's that?
I said sure because I put it together.
Oh, I just, it says me and then Kelly. I know
Because it is the mayor's budget. This is just the time.
future, just sneak your name in there because I'm not going to talk on it. It's your timeline. But it is my budget and thank you. You did a great job last
You're
year.
welcome. So it's just a budget preparation timetable that lays out the dates and the process going forward. However, November 11th is the final budget public hearing, doesn't leave much time for tax preparation. So I just want to make it clear that if we need to have a special committee of the whole meeting, we need to have that on October 27th prior to adoption. We didn't have it last year. Things seemed to run smoothly. And just remember that you can contact your department or contact the department heads at any time between September 17th and October 14th with your budget questions. We will start internal process here June 9th, and the mayor's recommended budget would be presented at the September 16th council meeting. And that is all I have, unless you guys have any questions.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
It's information only, no action required.
So motion to receive and place on file. We're good enough with that. First and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
G11. We just finished G11. We're now going to G12.
But there is a motion on G11.
Yes.
It is a motion to adopt.
Yeah.
The timetable.
The timetable.
Timetable.
Are you looking?
Okay, everybody refocus. G12, new housing fee report for 2024. Madam Director of Administration. We're good, Mr. Counselor.
Okay, this is a statutory requirement. So it is something that is provided every year, placed on our website, and this year is no different. It's on here as, I believe, a information only place on file.
Make the motion to put on file. No motion.
So, information item only, no action required. So that's fine. Everything in here from Madam Director of Administration, we're good. We are moving now forward to item G as in George 13, a resolution approving a partial property tax recession and refund for tax key number 886-9997-000. Is there a motion on this?
Motion to approve.
Second.
First and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. G14, a resolution approving a partial property tax rescission and refund for tax key number 740-0002-000.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. G15, an ordinance to amend ordinance 2024-2649, an ordinance adopting the 2025 annual budget for the general fund, TID 8 Capital Projects Fund, Capital Outlay Fund, Equipment Replacement Fund, Capital Improvement Fund, Street Improvement Fund, and Sewer Fund for fiscal year 2025 to approve budget encumbrances from the 2020-24 budget as amendments to the 2025 budget. Madam Director of Finance.
Yeah, so at the first March meeting, I did bring forward the purchase orders and contracts that were still outstanding as they were recommended for approval by the Finance Committee. However, the Public Works Department, a few police departments, and the Planning Department still had not got back to me on which POs needed to be carried forward and which ones could be liquidated. So I finalized conversations with them, finalized all the POs now as being approved and needed to be carried forward. Finance Committee recommended approval for these as they have no impact on the 2025 budget as it's all 2024 budgeted funding.
So there is a motion and is a roll call vote.
I make the motion to adopt.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Alderman Peccarelli.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichman.
Aye.
Alderman Assam.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderman Craig.
Aye.
6 ayes, no noes, motion carries. Moving forward to G16. An ordinance to amend ordinance 2024-2649, an ordinance adopting the 2025 annual budgets for the general fund and the capital outlay fund for the city of Franklin for fiscal year 2025 to carry over incomplete 2024 projects as an amendment to the 2025 budget. Madam Director of Finance.
So this one is slightly different from the previous agenda item. The previous agenda item was purchase orders and contracts. This is funding that needs to be carried forward from the 24 budget that did not have a purchase order or contract. It's usually either excess funding that can be carried forward for a particular use, or the department had requested it for a particular use. So I'll just briefly run through. I believe there's 5 items here. The fire department had $70,000 appropriated for a grant. 90% funding was from the grant, and it was a 10% match from the city to provide fitness equipment in the fire station. They did not get the grant approved last year. However, they want to reapply and hope for approval this year. So we would need to provide those appropriations in the 25 budget. The finance department had appropriated $3,500 for some updated desks and file cabinets in my office. I did not get a chance to purchase those in 2024, so I asked that that be carried forward into 2025. The police department has excess funding of roughly $230,000 from the 4 squad cars that were appropriated in 2024. A quick backstory is Hiller Ford was the vendor that we purchased the 4 squads from earlier in 2024. However, we had the purchase order, we just never fulfilled the payment. We were waiting for those squads to come in. In the meantime, we engaged in the Enterprise Fleet program, and in the mix of all of that, Enterprise Fleet actually purchased those squads from Hillerford themselves, and then we are leasing those out. So all that excess funding is needs to be allocated in the 25 budget to cover those lease payments, as well as additional vehicles that are also in the police fleet program. There is a item on here for the IT department to allocate $19,000 for consulting and training for Windows 11. However, the IT director did state that he no longer needs this funding, so we can cross that one off. And then lastly, the Department of Public Works had roughly $85,000 excess funding in their operational budget this year. That would have been in the vehicle support account and also the fuel account. That being said, we are able to transfer operating funding to the capital accounts if it's for one-time uses. The Public Works Department is asking that they can purchase a UTV for mutual use between the police department, fire department, and also themselves. There was some question regarding that at the Finance Committee meeting, so I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have around that. The one thing that was noted or questioned was, is the $65,000 an accurate amount? And the other thing was, if the vehicle was going to, or the UTV was going to be used for special events, and I talked to the Public Works Director, and he said yes. It would be mutually shared between the three departments for special events during the summer and then plowing in the winter. The only other UTV that the city owns is one that is being used by the fire department right now for transporting of patients. So it's not really accessible for them to use at special events or plowing. So additional funding and reallocation of operating funds to the capital account is what we're requesting for on that. So I can answer any questions. Otherwise, the motion would just be to approve these projects to be moved forward into 2025, and then also allow for the reappropriation of the funding for the purchase of the UTV.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
We have a first.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Barber. We'll give him the second on that. This is a roll call again. Roll call.
Alderman Craig.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day. Aye. Alderman Hassan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichman.
Aye.
Alderman Peccarelli.
Aye.
6 ayes, no noes, motion carries. G17, reclassification of secretary positions in inspection services and planning departments to administrative assistant positions. Madam Director of Administration.
So this is just a classification of title, moving from secretary to administrative assistant. It reflects expanded responsibilities and supports staff retention. It's a more modern title, and it is also approved by and recommended for approval by council from the Personnel Committee.
Got it. Excellent. Any further discussion? Is there a motion on this?
Yeah, this was discussed during the Personnel Committee.
Mr. Hassan?
So I would like to make the motion to approve it.
I'll second.
First and second, seeing no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. G18, list of donations for January through December of 2024. This is Madam Director of Finance, seeing a nice breakdown here.
Yes, I just want to publicly recognize all of the donations that the city has received from the community, totaling $121,450.42. That was crossed between civic celebrations, the St. Martin Fair, the library, Kayla's Playground, and then various donation accounts that we have. So again, I just wanted to publicly recognize all these people for their generous donations.
Very nice, and thank you to all those, if anybody's listening. There's a lot of things don't get done without donations, and that's they are to be recognized for their generosity.
Can I add one thing? And thank you for breaking them down.
Yep, you're welcome.
So we can see.
Alderman Eichman, you've got the floor.
I'm done. I was thanking the Director of Finance as well for itemizing and breaking this down for us so nicely.
Yes, excellent job. So with that, Mr. Barber, there's a motion to acknowledge and accept donations received for January to December 24 from various Franklin residents and businesses. It's your choice. I don't want to put you in a spot anymore, Alderman.
I approve.
Okay, that's the first. That's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a first and a second by Mr. Craig. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Now we're going to dart to item I as in Ida. You were there to correct me. Thank God I didn't make an error for you, Counselor. Motion approving the following. 3 points. City vouchers with an ending date of March 27, 2025 in the amount of $1,540,203.25. Point 2, payroll dated March 21st, 2025 in the amount of $464,952.97. And payments of the various payroll reductions in the amount of $511,692.79 plus matching payments. And point 3, estimated payroll dated April 4th, 2025 in the amount of $480,000 and payments of the various payroll deductions in the amount of $266,000 plus city matching payments. Mr. Barber, do you have that motion?
So move, and I approve.
Second.
We have a first and a second. This too is a roll call vote. Madam Clerk?
Alderman Peccarelli.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichman.
Aye.
Alderman Hassan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderman Craig.
Aye.
That's 6 ayes, no noes, motion carries. Before we go into the final motion to adjourn, which will be the honor of Mr. Barber,
I approve.
just would like to say at this point, nope, not gonna get off that easy. I want to say to Mike, thank you for all your years of service, dedication. I sat to your left for 6 years. We shared many treats. I stole many of your treats when you would turn away. We had a lot of fun. We got a lot done. Your service to the city is excellent. Your record, you're always upbeat, always looking at a positive way to get things done, which is very respectable. And that was called out to tonight by Mr. Zimmerman. So as we go around the table to say some things, you'll speak last, so you have some time to think about something really profound as you retire back to District 5 and in your area. So, but thank you, Mike. In all seriousness, excellent. I really enjoy working with you. It's a lot of fun, and it's fun on that side sometimes when nobody really hears what's going on. You get some treats, you get a little ribbing. But anyway, so that's what I've got to say.
Steve Taylor took more treats than you took.
I believe it, and he never brought treats back.
Oh, I believe that.
Tight like a tiger. So with that, why don't we just start with Mr. Craig, and if you want to say something or not, it's up to you.
Yeah.
No one has to.
No one has to. Nobody's pressuring anybody.
Thank you for your years of service, Mr. Barber. It is not an easy job. I'm sure everyone up here on this dais would echo that sentiment. And you've done it for quite a while, and you've done it with grace and with dignity. And I thank you for all of the service that you have given to the city. I wish you well in future endeavors.
Thank you.
Alderman Day?
Yes, so I was going to have something more prepared for when we did your little proclamation thing, but in all seriousness, I've known.
Is this in lieu of the proclamation?
No. I've worked with Alderman Barber in 2 phases. When I was the health officer, he was on the Board of Health and was also the elected official representative on volition, and in both of those instances has really been a champion for the health department through some transition years, through the pandemic, helping to make Volition a nationally recognized organization. So I want to call out some of the work outside of up here at the dais. And then for the last 2 years, obviously, I've enjoyed sitting to your right and getting little tips and wisdom from you. Appreciate all the help and wisdom you gave me when I was running for office. You will be missed, but you and Nancy enjoy your time together. But do come back and visit.
I shall.
Alderman Hassan.
What else can I say besides thank you so much, Mike? He's always very helpful and he's an inspirational figure, really. I plan to continue being in touch with Mike. He doesn't live very far from where I live. And I heard about Mike before I really met him from some of his constituents. They are very proud of Mike and very thankful. So thank you, Mike.
Alderman Eichmann.
Thank you for all of your hard work, Mike. We've been through a lot in the past 3 years. In my first term, a lot of turnover, a lot of changes. You've adapted so well. I've learned from that. I've learned a lot from you. You've taught me a lot, especially my first year. It's been fun here, fun outside of meetings. And I know that you're not going too far, and I think it's very respectable that you're still going to help the city out in some various ways that I've heard. So thank you for that, too. You won't be a complete stranger to us. And now you and Nancy will have some more time to shop at Von Moore, and I'll probably run into you there. Don't run into you as much in Franklin as I do outside of, but so thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Piccarelli.
Obviously, I'm the short-termer here, and I've had not as much experience as everybody else, but I really do appreciate and learned a lot from the short time that we've spent together. And I realize all of the, like you were just going through all the committees and everything else that you've been involved with over the years, and I really appreciate it, and wish you the best in your retirement from this.
Mr. City Attorney.
A life, years, and decades by the people, for the people. Thank you, sir.
So, anything further, Mr. Barber, on that, or would you like to make the motion to adjourn, sir?
Oh, no, not yet. I want to thank everybody here for being my friend through the years, for being supportive and being my antagonist when I needed it, and just generally having a good relationship with everybody here. I have taken a lot of good things away from this. I'm going to have a lot of good memories. Just understand that from now on, every council meeting, Nancy and I'll be at home watching it. We'll have the agendas.
Yeah.
So I will be able to watch what goes on. Nancy's already looking forward to asking me what this is all about. So that's going to be the fun part of all this. We can do things together now and do some things that maybe some long-range planning without worrying about councils or any of the other committee meetings that you're part of. But one of the things I've always tried to maintain is that it's, and I'll leave this with everybody up here, that finally the only thing that counts is your own personal integrity. And that's one of the things that I've valued, and that's the way I strive to be an alderman, is to have that integrity and to let my values come forward. And I hope all of you do the same for your remaining tenure. So thank you all. I will be around and not leaving. So
Thank you.
we'll be part of the picture.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Would you like to make the motion to adjourn?
No, I make a motion to get this cake going.
We have to adjourn first.
No, we don't. We can have all the cake we want.
Off the record.
Okay. So moved to adjourn.
Second.
First and seconded by Alderman Craig. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. We are now adjourning at 8:53 p.m.